Alright, everybody. Welcome once again to SunnyRedemption Sailing, the piratiest gaming news show on the internet. Okay, so, I've just emissaried for Athena's fortune. I also went to the ancient coin shop and bought a new hull that I can't wait to show you, as well as a new weapon bundle. So, let's see. Where are you? Okay, let's save item to ship. Alrighty then. Hey, Kevin. Just got into the game. I will... Hey. I guess just join my game whenever you're ready.
Yep, I'm loading in right now.
Yep, I'm just grabbing the supplies for my sloop. I decided to do the redemption again. You'll go next, but I got a really cool hull. Anyway.
What do you need? Stop by again sometime.
Okay, just resupplying there. And then I already emissaried as Athena's fortune as well.
Awesome. Yep.
So,
I'm joining right now.
I'm excited for a voyage that hopefully will be fruitful without being as crazy as last time.
Yeah.
I tried playing with that Reaper who chased us unsuccessfully, but he ended up well, the session ended up crashing, and he and I couldn't end up playing. So.
Oh wow. Can you try sending me an invite? It's not letting me join for some reason.
Huh.
Oh, wait. It's letting me now. It's maybe letting me join. Let me see.
That's annoying.
No, it's not letting me join. I might need an invite.
Okay.
It gets to the loading screen and boots me back to the menu.
That is very weird. Invite to game, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the Alright, I think I gotta invite you this way, because otherwise it won't let me. Due to the weird way the whole setup works with the PC streaming and that kind of jazz. And speaking of PC, I got Penny's Big Breakaway on the Steam Deck.
Oh yeah? How are you liking it so far?
So far it seems like it's the lost 3D Sonic game that maybe could have used a couple years and more baking. I don't know. The controls feel a little loose, but I am still having fun with it, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they take some getting used to, but once you really get a feel for it, the levels flow together pretty well. I haven't beaten it, but I've played quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a good time with it. I just had other stuff going on, so I didn't quite beat it yet, but it's definitely on the list for me.
Did you manage to get in?
No, it didn't work again.
That's weird.
Except this time it gave me a server unavailable message, so I'm just rebooting the game completely. Seeing if that does anything.
Okay, well, I'll just sail to the location then.
Yeah.
It'll dive me, but you know.
Can you send me another invite? I want to try doing it this way first.
Sure. It's a little fiddly because your name always doesn't show up right away for some reason.
No.
Anyway. Thanks for bearing with us the technical difficulties, chat.
Putting a game.
We have
continue.
an action-packed week of gaming announcements to unpack. Holy sh...
Oh,
while you're loading in, I'd like to actually start with the thing that's least related to gaming, and that's WWDC. There was definitely some... Oh! Okay, I guess I won't shove off then. Not yet. Seems like you did join after all, so cool. But,
still on the loading screen, but hopefully that's a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, it says you joined my crew, so I hope you're right. Oh, that reminds me, I gotta apply my new weapon bundle that I got.
Now I'm in.
You can also get the free self high five emote to get into a raffle for all of the items in the ancient shop. So
Oh yeah, I saw that while I was on break at work. I made a note for myself to do that later.
okay, I'm gonna swap that. There's supposed to be a sword to go with it. Prehistoric plunderer cutlass. So yeah, the prehistoric weapon bundle was on sale, and I just decided to snag it because I've been watching a ton of videos of like dinosaurs fighting each other, and I'm like, hell yes, I love dinosaurs, so I'm gonna get that. Was my reasoning, and it was shiny, and I got it. Anyway, so
We've got Plunder Valley to go to. There is a Reaper on the map, but they're only grade 2.
yeah, and oh my god, we'll get to the Reapers in a second, but yeah, I just want to get my impressions of WWDC out of the way. I know you're not an Apple user, so it's not as relevant, but there is some interesting gaming tidbits in there. Like having iPhone and iPad have game mode to reduce background processes for increased performance should help a lot with
That's
the
cool.
games that are on iPhone, because anything that makes a platform better for games is going to be better for gamers. And then, like, they did have some pretty heavy-hitting game announcements, I think, for Mac, like Assassin's Creed Shadows and Frostpunk 2 day and date. So
That's cool.
it seems like their metal game porting toolkit is really working well. Perhaps not as flawlessly as, say, Proton with Valve, but then again, Valve built on an existing project, and they're more of a gaming focused company. So Apple is like still getting used to the idea of games being on Mac at all.
Yeah, I mean, Apple always feels like they flirt with the idea of like, hey, let's really make a push to get day and date Mac stuff, but I feel like it never really sticks a lot of the time.
And they did almost get Halo, and
yeah,
Bungie. It still boggles my mind that the first console port of Marathon was to the Apple Bandai Pippin, which was their failed attempt at a game console, for those who don't know. What a world that would have been if Apple had been making a successful game console. Ugh. But these kinds of things twist and turn with consoles and other platforms failing all the time. Anyway, so like, my impression overall of WWDC is that it's a lot of little improvements that probably were already on Android, like a lot of Apple software updates, but like where it's really interesting to me, technologically wise, other than just some of the games, is the Apple Intelligence. If it works well, then it could be a really nice way to make my phone less of a pain in the butt to use. And since I'm planning on getting a Mac Mini for desktop work, since my iPad Mini 6, that I compared against the iPad Pro and was like, wow, this is slightly thinner and slightly brighter. But not worth the money for me. I'm glad this iPad is enough travel computer for me, and then the desktop computer. But that will have an M2, and that will have Siri. And it'll also be able to show my iPhone on the screen, even if my phone is locked in another room. That's pretty cool. Like, it could make that very seamless. On the other hand, I'm fine with the iPad not having Apple Intelligence. You know, the usual Apple rebrand everything to make us seem like we're the ones who invented it. Because, like, the writing suggestions have me a little worried. That, like, people will just kind of offload how to write stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's already kind of happened. I feel like autocorrect has been Like,
Yeah.
people have unlearned how to spell over the past couple of decades in a lot of ways. Trust me, I've seen plenty of that at work.
Well, I just got booed for saying that human beings were kidnapped by terrorists, so the world is kind of turning upside down. But I'm gonna move on from that kind of thing before I get too in the weeds with that, because the other big thing that I watched, other than the Dragon Age trailer, which was so boring, I'm sorry, I don't know why. It seems like the game will play fine. I don't know. Trailer was boring.
Yeah, I'm not that into Dragon Age, so I didn't really have a strong opinion on it, but I don't know. It just seemed like another fantasy sort of thing, which has kind of always been what Dragon Age has been to me,
Well,
but
except it
did
seems it's
seem
all
a
real
little bit
time.
more. Yeah, that is true. Wait, the whole trailer is real time?
Yeah,
Damn.
no turn-based
Okay.
whatsoever. It seems like they're going for the character action route, which
Okay.
is fine, but it could make it less distinct. I'm also tackling a red mermaid statue at the moment, because of course
Okay,
there's
that's
random
good.
treasure sidetracking
Yeah.
us, because thou shalt always get sidetracked by bullshit, is what they say in Fallout. Anyway, so... Thinking of getting sidetracked. Ubisoft Forward. That actually made me want to get their sale of a year of Ubisoft Plus for $135.
Oh, that's pretty good. I might look into that too. I didn't realize that. I didn't catch any of Ubisoft Forward, by the way, because I've been working the past couple of days. I just
Yeah.
saw a couple of the highlights. I saw the stuff for the crew, because that's what I'm interested in, and I think that's it.
I didn't see the Crew Motorfest stuff, but getting the DLC will be, as part of Ubisoft Plus, will be interesting, and
Yeah,
I'll keep playing that game.
I mean, I'm excited they're adding basically a whole new landmass to it, so...
Oh, see, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I was more focused on Star Wars Outlaws, which looks very solid, and like the Han Solo simulator, a lot of people were wondering about when Project Ragtag was being developed, but then also Assassin's Creed Shadows looks pretty sick. It seems like it has a good balance of the stealthy, quick assassin style playlist with the main Japanese female assassin, whose name I would probably butcher if I could remember it. But then you have Yasuke, who is based on a real black samurai from history of the same name, and seems to be going more for the tanky RPG players who liked that style of combat.
What it kind of felt like to me was I probably didn't see as much of the gameplay as you did, but I saw some snippets. It felt kind of like combat-wise, the female character felt more like older Assassin's Creed, and
that's exactly what I was saying.
and the newer guy felt more like where they sort of went a little more like, Dark Souls-y.
Right, that's exactly what I was saying too.
Yeah.
So it seems like there's an attempt to marry those styles and be something for everybody, and it could work out because the set piece fights that they showed were very interesting. But I'll have to see how it plays in practice, and I think it's worth it because for the price of these two games outright, you can get every other Ubisoft game in the catalog.
That's definitely part of the consideration. Is like, this is definitely the Assassin's Creed game I've been most interested in playing since probably Odyssey. Like, because I played a bit of Valhalla, I didn't touch the one
Mirage?
that came out very recently. Yes, Mirage. Yeah,
Which apparently is now free to try on iPhone for a little bit. So they're trying to boost the reputation of that game, but for $40, no thanks after that point.
Yeah, I heard okay things about that game, except it's just kind of like, it's what I like about it is that it is more akin to the older style Assassin's Creed. So I might try it eventually, but
Mirage, when I tried it, I understood why they were going for that, and that was what they were going for, but it was like these developers had heard of these things and hadn't played them. It just felt very clunky and odd, in a way that was hard to describe. I was able to get through a little bit of it, but then I just got bored. But, you know what? You may feel differently, because, well, I came into the series pretty late around the Unity time, and, by then they were already moving away from that sort of thing. So,
I mean, I'm not like a massive Assassin's Creed fan, but I've only beaten one of them. But
well, thank you for coming in the stream, everybody.
I've
Sorry.
played plenty of them, like, you know, to about the third to halfway point, and then said, all right, that's enough for me.
Heh. Yeah, that tended to happen for me. The only campaign that I finished was Origins. Yeah, definitely Origins. And it seems like Star Wars Outlaws will be 30 hours long on the Golden Path, and about 60 for completionists, which, you know what, that sounds about right for Ubisoft.
Yeah.
I'll have to see how it fares, because usually they have pretty propulsive first few hours, and then they just, like, peter out in pacing. That's what happened to Avatar, at least, but maybe they've fixed some bugs and rebalanced some things to make it a little bit better without me having to pick story difficulty to grind through it. Though, I am doing that with my replay of Marvel's Midnight Suns on the Steam Deck. Because I'm like, at this point I just want to see how the story ends, and I can skip all the cutscenes and friendly minigames that I already did on the Xbox, just to be able to have this for free, again, from Epic, otherwise I wouldn't have gotten it again. Oh, and speaking of free, another thing that I really liked, the One Button Boss's demo. That's really cool, because basically what happens is you're on a track, and then you use a button to go forward or to go one direction and then another to switch direction. So that's how it's one button. And your character attacks automatically. It's about trying to dodge the heavily telegraphed attacks, so it's a boss fight. I still haven't beaten the last one in the demo because it's pretty tricky. So, keep an eye on that one. They've got some good demos at Steam Next Fest, though many of them did not work on my Steam Deck, sadly. Because these are games that aren't even released yet. It's kind of understandable, though, since Valve hasn't had a chance to test them. But some of them just worked, so who knows. Yeah. I guess for people who are still invested in Quest, there's Just Dance VR. But like, yeah, no, it was a solid show for Ubisoft. And I think there was like one little indie game that they were making too again. But after the way they or they were helping support, but after the way they treated Child of Light, I was just like, nah.
Yeah.
I will believe it when I see it, which is, well, I guess there's no putting it off any longer. We got to talk about the Xbox Showcase, because it's like, I have never been more angrily excited.
Exactly. Like, there's plenty to still be upset about, and I still will carry that with me. But like, they pretty much did what they needed to do at this juncture point for them, where it's like, you know, they had to get the bad news out of the way, which is why I was talking a few weeks ago about, like, of course they had to do this. They had to get the bad news out of the way before the showcase, because if they did it after the showcase, you know, it really it would probably deepen people's memories more. Whereas they knew they had probably at least a solid showcase coming. It's like, okay, just so we don't have people asking where these studios are at, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and just, yeah. Unfortunately, I hate to talk about it like that in such callous terms, but that's probably the business and marketing side of why they would time it like that.
Yeah.
You know?
But as we discussed, as we discussed last time, though, they're forking out more money to Square Enix to get Japanese games on their platform, when they probably could have.
Don't make sense to me, but they made their decision probably well before they announced it, and then it's like, okay, when do we announce this? these studio
Yeah.
closures. Let's do it in between our two showcases, in between the January one and the June one.
Well, the last time that they had layoffs before that, in around 2015 or so, that was the last of the layoffs for a while, so one hopes that, like, Compulsion is safe, because South of Midnight looks awesome! Wow, I'm so psyched for this thing. The stop-motion, like, animation is interesting. They've managed to make that successfully work in a game before, so I don't think that'll be a problem from a technical perspective. Then the powers, the glider that you like ride the wind with, and the grappling hook.
The sort of
Oh.
chaining that stuff together. Like, again, that's not something that's like never been done in the game before by any means, but like it's always good to see like movement tech like that kind of.
Good authors borrow and great authors steal, you know? So,
Yeah.
if you're gonna steal, like, movement that's been done before in other games, but do it well and with your own style, which clearly they are going for, because Compulsion has always been known for their own art styles. Heck, I still remember the character profile for contrasts, for contrast characters. And that's hard to do in a game where people are in, you know, very realistic graphics character land. Or just like the only characters that stand out end up being from IPs. Or new game, or I mean IPs that are very distinctively haired, like Lego Horizon Adventures. At this point,
Yeah,
it's just kind of petty that it's not coming to Xbox. Like, seriously,
Yeah,
Sony?
I found that kind of funny. I mean, I get it. It's like that's what they consider their most direct competition, whereas the Switch is sort of, you know, either the fact that it is on Switch could be like maybe that's a Lego licensing decision. Like, hey, of course we have to put this on where it's probably going to sell gangbusters.
Yep.
Or it's just Sony saying, or it's just a Sony, you know, driven decision saying like, well, of course this is a Lego game. Let's put it on the you know console with the where the children are.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So whoever made that decision, I mean, it's pretty obvious why the decision was.
In the pursuit of getting the young audience, I am very surprised that the handheld was not at least teased. The hardware reveal was just kind of eh.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of that is just like it's obviously not ready, first of all, so they like I don't think they get anything from announcing hardware super early. With the Series X, it was a bit different because people were very ready to kind of move on from the Xbox One generation. But in this case, it's like if you announce a handheld and then it doesn't come out till, let's say, a year or more from now, that's only going to hurt your current sales because people are either going to wait for the handheld or they're going to wait for the handheld if they.
Or they're going to wait for the Sony handheld.
Yeah.
The PS Portal 2.
Wait for the handheld, or people who might want who might be compelled by the Xbox handheld in the intervening time might say, "Oh, well, I'll just get a Steam." Since Xbox announced this thing and hasn't put it out yet, so I don't think there's any benefit to them announcing early. Like something like that sort of hardware announcement, I feel like would be if they announced it, you know, less than like a 4 or 5 month gap to me. It's like, okay, announce in the summer, get it out by the holidays.
Yeah, whatever year they release it.
I'm not a professional marketer, but I don't see any reason why they would announce something like that early.
Because here's what I could see. I could see summer 2026 announcement for the handheld Series S and the next gen AI infused Xbox. with Perfect Dark as a cross-gen launch title. Because it looks like it at least has gameplay. So another couple years, maybe it could really show what this new box can do while still being cross-gen. Who knows? I mean, by then, people may have cooled to the idea of AI in games or anywhere because Microsoft badly stubbed its toe with the Windows recall stuff.
Yeah, I saw a little bit about that. That seems like just... They've been doing this whole OS thing for like 40 plus years. You would think they would know not to... They make simple user-facing mistakes like this.
Well, this is like an Xbox One launch-related disaster, because now I'm seeing more people wanting to switch to Linux.
Yeah. Or
Now
just
that it's
anything that
easier.
isn't going to like intrusively get in their way all the time.
I'm going to switch to my Mac Mini for precisely this reason. Because even though Apple says it is perusing your data for AI, they were very clear about when it contacts ChatGPT, it's basically a private instance that you control. Whether that actually is secure, who knows? They say that independent experts will verify it. I'm not sure how, but then again, I'm not a white paper writer, so I don't know. But this kind of, like, getting out in front of things is how companies succeed in gaining trust, and at least Microsoft is getting out front and saying there will actually be games that are only on Xbox and PC at launch. Like, I saw a really dumb article from Polygon that was like, Xbox doesn't care as much about exclusives anymore because they wanted to beat on that drum, of course. And their evidence was that the trailer for Dragon Age said Xbox and PC, and clearly it's going to go to PS5. So the author's reasoning was that then every game in the show that says Xbox and PC could come to PS5. I'm like, what are you smoking?
They're not like technically wrong, but that's a very stupid way to present that argument.
Yeah, because they want the clicks. That's why. But here's what it is. It's just content windowing. Everybody does it now.
Yeah. I think as long as I think the best thing they can do, like you said, is just be upfront about when things might be coming where.
Well, like, they were upfront about Doom coming at launch to PS5, and also that game looks sick, by the way.
Oh yeah.
It basically solves my complaints about Eternal if they can nail what it feels like the combat.
I'll admit, I wasn't really a big fan of the Doom reboots, but you know, they played well. I don't know. I kind of found it. I don't know. I just didn't like the combat design that much, but the guns felt good.
Doom 2016's combat design was better because you could just shoot things and they would explode.
Yeah. I did play a bit of Doom Eternal, and like it felt more like a puzzle to solve when you played the combat in that. Yeah.
The reason they did that was because they wanted every weapon to be able to have a use. But that's not how weapon sandboxes work. You give players the tools and then they figure it out. Instead, you basically had to have the combat shotgun if you wanted to take down cacodemons super quickly. Sure, you could hit them with other things, but the game had such limited ammo that you would be an idiot to do that. So that meant that you're just constantly juggling resources and things, and it was way too hectic at times. The Ancient Gods was a fucking nightmare. I hated it. The way you had to just deal with impossible amounts of enemies all gunning for you at the same time, and being a vertical monkey all the time, swinging around. it was too much. And don't even get me started on the multiplayer, so I won't. But I gotta either let this fire burn out, or there we go. Yeah, that's what I have to do. It just felt like a very strict game of rock paper scissors, rather than an actual shooter with where I had agency. But you know what? Eternal was good. It's just not as good as 2016. I'm sorry if that's a hellish take, but well, I can't wait to rip and tear again because, well, for one thing, they decided that the arenas are more horizontal this time, which fits more with classic Doom, so that makes sense. They have, like, what appears to be a more limited set of technology, because all of the grenades and the flamethrower and the meat hook and the this and that and the other thing, it was a lot to manage. Again. If the biggest thing in your left hand is also the only thing in your left hand and it's really useful, then that's fine. That would be this shield saw, which Tomb 2 modders have already put into the game.
Oh, there's water right here. Okay.
Oh yeah. I just got rid of them. I might go down, so be ready to pick me up if need be, but the January 2025 Developer Direct is gonna be very tasty, is my feeling. Because we have that Fabled.
They knocked me off of you. I
Okay.
can't get you. I need to eat food.
Alright, well. This is one of the stranger circumstances under which I've died, but...
And they just killed me.
Oh no! Oh! Darn it! But yeah, biggest surprise of the show? Definitely E-Day for me.
Yeah, E-Day for sure. Like I texted you the other day, I had an inkling they were going to do something. Like, I didn't think it would be a full prequel game. I thought when I spoke to the voice actor a while back, I thought he was probably talking about some kind of flashback in like a Gears 6 or something, or even just like a multiplayer voice or character pack. But yeah, I'm excited, but also like I still do want to see the actual conclusion of the current trilogy they're on. Like,
yeah.
If they were doing it in an opposite order, or doing them sort of both concurrently, I would be, like, a little bit more on board. But, you know, it is what it is. I just hope there's not, like, a huge, long gap between, you know, E-Day and then a potential Gears 6.
It depends on how many developers are allocated to each project. Like,
yeah.
I'm guessing something like E-Day could be done with 200 people, and then something like Gears 6, I don't know, the rest of the team, however big that is.
Yeah. Like, we don't know, like, anything about the scope of E-Day yet, because it could be, I bet it'll be bigger than something like Hive Busters, right? Because that was more just a 4-hour thing.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, when you think about the scope of, like, their last few Gears games, like 4 and 5, I find it hard to imagine it'll be that big.
How long were the campaigns anyway?
4 and 5? Mm-hmm. I mean, about as long as a typical Gears campaign. Like 5 or so acts.
But just so much content. Like, yeah, I'm imagining there's multiplayer, because of course there is, but maybe a smaller horde mode.
Multiplayer. Yeah, it could be like Gears Ultimate multiplayer, where they kind of just brought back a bunch of old maps and said, here, have at it.
Right, ODST style, you mean?
Yeah. Well, not even ODST style, but like when they did Gears Ultimate, the remake for Gears 1, they just remade a bunch of old Gears 1 maps and added a couple new modes and called it a day.
Yeah, so, that's fair.
I can see them kind of doing a best of kind of thing, even like.
Do you think they're also doing that?
Gears 1 and 3.
Do you think they're also doing that Gears collection after all? Because I thought that was what it was going to be. Was Gears collection coming to PS5 and then tease for Gears 6 on Xbox?
I feel like they have to do something like that. Maybe at this point, my bets would be on like it being like let's say Gears E-Day comes out next year or something. Like we don't have a date on it, but Gears games usually don't go too long from announcement to release. It's never more than like 18 months. So if they do put out E-Day by holiday 2025, that would line up a collection for the 20th anniversary in 2026. I don't know, like, I have no insight into that, but that would be, if they were lining something like that up, that would be the smart marketing thing to do, I think, is to line it all up for the 20th anniversary.
Well, then if Gears 6 is super ready, it could also release in 2026, but if it releases later than that, then it'll be a late gen, early new gen new game, which is insane to me.
Now we could go.
I thought we would have Gears 6 by now.
Generation without, like that's why EA is just a little perplexing to me. Like I get that they
need to have something.
It's the fan service move, and I get it. But if we end up going this entire generation without a proper follow-up to Gears 5, it's kind of wild to me. And I understand. I also do wonder, because I don't think they've even said really how far along E-Day
Got him.
Because because I'm assuming it's a 2025 game, even though they didn't give a date, just based on having watched every Gears announcement since Gears 2. Like Gears 2 was announced like 4 months before it came out, something like that. Gears 3 was kind of the same. They had a beta for Gears 3, but it was not that long from announcement to release. It never typically is for Gears. So I'm just looking at past history to kind of guess at where Gears E-Day might be. But if it maybe is earlier along than we think, then who knows?
Yeah. I'm also hoping that it seems like they're confident at the 2025 window for Fable, which would be nice.
Yeah. At this point, like, they have to have some date on it, because they've been teasing it for so long. They have, even if it does end up getting pushed to 2026, I feel like we're just at the point in the cycle for that game where if they didn't have a date on that trailer, people would just instantly be like, well, it would kind of just fade away in people's memory. But now that we at least have a concrete date, it's like, okay, I can start looking forward to it a little bit now.
Mm-hmm.
I can at least put it in my sort of mental chart of games.
All right, Mermaid's Hideaway.
Yeah, anything without a date could just be. It could either come 5 years from now or never in people's minds.
Yeah,
so.
Pretty much. Yeah, well, I am definitely hopeful for Fable. But if Dune the Dark Ages, Fable, and Gears E-Day are the big games for 2025, we're pretty set. And South of Midnight would be a good, small game that's actually successful and does not get the team laid off this time, please.
Yeah. I mean, that's the worrying thing when I see Xbox teasing these smaller games now. It's just like, it's crazy to think about, but it has just happened where if they release South of Midnight in a year from now, Compulsion could be shut down a year from then. Because that, it's possible.
Well,
Xbox has done it and could do it again.
Well, I think that in the midst of all of this Microsoft chaos, we're forgetting that London studio was visited by Jim Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, that's
before being shut down 2 days later.
That's just another example of the crassness of that level of video.
Yeah, but PlayStation is breathing a sigh of relief because they're getting away with it now. Because Microsoft did the right after.
I think they got a lot of shit for that when that first happened.
They did,
I
but
mean,
then the internet's
it's
memory
just the-
blinked out of existence.
Yeah, that's just how these sorts of discourse work. Is people have their sort of uproar about it, which I think is always deserved when stuff like this happens, of course. But then, other things happen and people move on.
Yeah.
Even I'll move on eventually. It's like I'm still upset about Tango and Arcane and everyone else, but
Right, and it's not. It'll go from upset for me to like just always being skeptical.
yeah, there's always going
That's
to be
it.
a resignment at the end of the day where it's like, well, I'm not going to not play video games because of one bad thing happening.
But it's not going to be like, yay, we did it! We finally got games! We could party in the streets! And we have the wholesome Xbox community.
I mean, but was it ever really that? Because
That was the myth around the people that people told themselves, was that when finally that game coming over the horizon would actually arrive next year instead of being delayed.
I guess, but also I just personally have never really felt that. I mean, maybe I've
that's just what
I think I've just been staring in the abyss too long. Because when the stuff with Tango happened, I'm like, oh, this is, it sucks really badly, but I also kind of just throw my hands up and say, oh, okay, this is like, this is Microsoft doing this again.
Yep. But, well, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that the games coming out in 2024 won't be worth playing or enjoying. I also found another flock of seagulls, and it appears that it could be a shipwreck. So my vote would be to get that one.
Sure.
I'll grab this explosive barrel. Like, okay, Age of Mythology Retold I'm actually more excited for than Age of Empires. I think it was because I played that with my sister back when Microsoft games were like edutainment. That was their brand.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if there was a Rise of Nations coming to console as well at some point, because that would be awesome, and I like that better than both of those, but we haven't seen anything in the Rise of Nations series, so I would take, like, a rumor at this point of a new Rise of Nations game. Because, for whatever reason, the tech tree for Rise of Nations was always more understandable for me. And Rise of Legends was my first real exposure to steampunk, which has stayed with me ever since. So, but, like, further out stuff, I can be more comfortable with having further out, because they're working on them pretty hard. Like, Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3. You know what? They'll be ready when they're ready. And it looks like the teams have solid visions for them. State of Decay 3 being very dark and bloodier with the power of this current gen. Because that's been one gain, is Viscera, in terms of graphical fidelity, because you can have muscle layer destruction and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm interested in like the overall scope for State of Decay 3 in terms of like players, because I remember when the first State of Decay came out, they're like, oh, the next one's going to be like an MMO, zombie MMO, and then State of Decay 2 came out, and they expanded the multiplayer, but it wasn't like some revelation or anything. So I wonder if that's what they're going to go for this time.
It's possible, especially if the next Xbox relies on AI processing in the cloud for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But, well, if that's their ambition and they can execute on that, I think that would be great.
That was their ambition a decade ago. Who knows what they're thinking now?
Yeah, it's right.
They might just, sort of stay the course and kind of make a more iterative sequel, which would still be
courses, poor Perfect Dark, it has been on a journey from being developed by what was supposed to be the first quadruple A studio, which that was always just marketing speak.
Yeah.
The initiative was not some conclave of wizards. they are human beings, and they ended up having a hard time figuring out how to form a game studio for a second. So they needed production help too, because Microsoft wasn't. The reason why Microsoft laid people off was not necessarily the games that would take a long time to make, as we initially thought, I think. It's just they don't want to hire any more people, so they decided to contract out to Crystal Dynamics this time. Throw them a lifeline. And, well, it seems like it's coming together. I was a bit worried there for a second about Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
But
I was really impressed by that trailer. Definitely, like, it exceeded what I thought there was. Like, it had a lot more, like, stuff going on then. Because I was really just like, okay, it's going to be, like, FPS, like, some light Deus Ex style stuff, some light espionage, but mostly just kind of a shooter. But no, they showed some interesting stuff in there. A lot of just stuff that you would kind of expect from a Perfect Dark game, but then stuff like the parkour-y, Mirror's Edge, Dying Light style stuff. Yeah,
perfect
like,
edge light.
I'm like, they either hired the people who did those games, or they just really created a good facsimile of it, because it sure did look like Mirror's Edge.
That's been a way to stand out in the market that hasn't been exploited all that often, because parkour systems require a lot more investment in physics than it seems that developers were willing to give shooters. And speaking of which, there is the one thing that's like technically interesting about the Black Ops 6 showcase, because they barely said anything about zombies or multiplayer. And the campaign, it looks okay. I'm a bit annoyed that Raven Software is being pulled from doing their own thing again to this.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing that's fascinating about the showcase itself is the Omni movement.
That's what I was going to say, is like, that was the one thing where I was like, oh, this is a neat idea. I like that they're talking up this, like, stuff, you know?
It's possible that Activision provided an assist on that sort of thing to Perfect Dark. It happens.
Oh, yeah. But, with the Omni movement stuff, like, I tend to watch the Call of Duty things when they happen around E3, even though I'm not, like, super interested. And this one had me, like, actually, like, interested. Like, I'll probably play some of this, even though, just because it'll be on Game Pass. I wouldn't pay $70, but I will try it out on Game Pass. And the Omni movement stuff was like, this is actually a really interesting way to think about movement in a shooter. Like, why not? Obviously, it wouldn't work for every shooter. It has to be designed around it. But in a game like this, if you're designing around it, like, I can just jump to the left or the right, or pivot this direction and quickly. So
considering that the Black Ops series has always been the sub-series of Call of Duty that does the most movement innovation, such as the dolphin dives that people loved or hated back in Black Ops 1, such as, like, all the different abilities and parkour in Black Ops 3 that were mixed reception as well. Oh no! Shark! Leave me alone!
I'm trying to help.
It's okay, I have a full bar of healing from Snake.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna grab that meat and cook it. Uh-oh. Oh, no! It doesn't heal you for drowning! I didn't realize that, But I'm about to make it. Okay, phew, that was close. Okay, grab that. Yeah, like, having that in zombies, for instance, will open up the gameplay in very, very nerdy ways that I could talk your head off about for an hour. The campaign, well, it'll still be a linear shooter, so it probably won't change all that much. But still, it is a really interesting change. Like, why not open up the systems more? I wonder, however, whether this will be a current-gen exclusive feature, and there will be, therefore, separate matchmaking for PS4 and Xbox One, because this kind of thing happened when Black Ops 3 came with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions. They got rid of the campaign and threw in Black Ops 1 as a freebie, like people hadn't already bought that game.
I remember that. That felt like such a cheapskate move at the time.
So coming to the last generation does not necessarily mean it'll be on parity, because these kinds of physical calculations probably require a much better CPU than a mobile chip, Zen chipset from 2011, which is what the Xbox One would be rocking still. So, it is possible that Omni-Movement is only current-gen exclusive, but if they didn't want to disappoint people, I guess, they're going to do a deeper gameplay dive in August. And it seems like maybe August is also where they announce the old Activision games dropping.
Yeah, I really wonder when they're going to do that. Like I said last time, I wonder if it's just going to be an all-at-once thing or a trickle.
Well, you know what they did was they made a last-ditch bundle of all of the Call of Duties and their games on Steam for $1,000.
Wow.
The most expensive thing you can buy on Steam. It's ridiculous. And half the DLC doesn't even work anymore. Because, like, nobody plays these old games. If you really weren't a huge fan of the of the Call of Duty series and its various sub-series, like Black Ops and Modern Warfare, why would you buy it for $1,000 now? I don't understand.
Just sight unseen, buy all of the Call of Duty.
Yes.
We might take some damage, by the way. We got cannons firing from the island.
Okay, well, I'm ready with wood. When ready.
Yeah, but I mean, at least on console, there's a decent number of people still playing some of them.
Yeah. Just that's not where the ridiculous bundle is being made.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll increase the
Uh,
populations for all of them on Xbox 360. So this is an objectively good move, obviously.
I loaded up Black Ops on
What is
360.
over there? Something is gleaming.
Okay. Oh, there's something blue gleaming. Yeah.
There's a couple blue gleaming things. I'll go look for that. But you keep going.
After the showcase, I loaded up Black Ops 1 just to see, and there's like 6,000 people on. So it's like still people playing there.
Yeah. I'm the biggest hope I have is for a population boost for the really classic Call of Duty games that have like 1 or 2 people online, like Call of Duty 2. There are dedicated Discord servers for that sort of thing, but I want to wait until the Game Pass population can be easily brought in.
I'm sure once all those are in Game Pass, still, even the lowest populated ones will get some sort of boost out of that.
Okay, apparently we might have gotten really lucky today because there's
a bunch of stuff on this island just kind of sitting
another
around.
Ashen Key. But I don't know where the chest is. Huh.
Sometimes you just find the keys.
Okay, well, an opulent curio. I thought it was a goblet, but nope. Oh, okay, I guess another Athena's. They're starting. That's cool. Alright, but yeah, the other 2 things, I'll go grab while you're dealing with that skeleton.
I got one of them.
Awesome. Ammo. Nice. Alright, back to my collection. I suppose the other, the post-Modern Warfare ones would be fun to replay too, though many of them were fundamentally unbalanced. Call of Duty 2 is pretty balanced. It's very limited. There's not even any, sprinting, which is, well, you know, it's an old game. What do you expect? But, I'm looking forward to playing more than just the campaign after all these years. Because I still remember that being my first multiplayer shooter on PC and absolutely getting creamed. So, I can't wait to be the creamer of new players this time. Anyway. But yeah, again, Microsoft seems like it has a really stacked 2024. Age of Mythology Retold on September 4th, Stalker 2 on September 5th, COD Black Ops 6 October 25th. That's multiplat, but still, the Game Pass launch will bring in new subscribers and cause people to renew. Because it seems like it did grow, but then it also shed people quickly from churn. Like other immature subscription services that are streaming video content and, get high churn. Like the massive losses that, that Paramount incurred, which have caused it to try to merge with Skydance, and that just failed. So, the world of media is just flipping itself on its head for some reason. But like, anyway. Did you see Avowed leaked its release date November 12th? It was just a public post by the developers that they were like, oops, we gotta change that.
Okay, well, that's cool, it's got a date.
Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 seems like it has quite the variety of missions. If it can also organize the old content, like bush trips, better, and actually have a functional saving system for progress in those things, so that I can actually justify taking long flights, then that would be something for me. But, like, it already promises to be a massive improvement, 2024. And should be the version that most people who are new to that game, or who are like, it's probably cool graphics-wise, but doesn't have much gameplay. This is where they added the gameplay. I'm hoping they also have some sort of expansion that calls back to something like Microsoft Combat Flight Simulator, because I never played that game, and it would be really cool to have a combat flight game on Xbox. Even if we're probably never getting anything Crimson Sky related. So.
At this point, that ship has sailed.
Lol. Anyway, then the rumor is that Indiana Jones is in December, and also that might be where Shattered Space comes in.
Okay. Yeah, that would be an interesting way to position everything, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that means that... Okay. Well, they kicked off the year, it seems, with Hellblade 2, and Grounded was there as well. Age of Empires 4, I think. So, it seemed like they had an okay opening, just with the layoffs souring everything. And now we're gonna get a really big bowl of ice cream for the fall. We are just gonna get so many good games for Game Pass, and not to mention the expansion to like Diablo 4 for those people who are interested in it. And again, Shattered Space, which is probably what will get me back into the game, or at least once they have vehicles on planets, so that I'm not running around on foot all day.
I've played a few hours since they did the 60 FPS update. It plays really well.
Oh well, that's good. I didn't have any expectations that it wouldn't, but it's nice to know anyway. The big game that I'm excited for is Indiana Jones, because my whole family loves Indiana Jones, and even though I'll likely be the one playing it, except for maybe like my boyfriend with my sister sometimes, my whole family will watch it, and it looks like it is a very good facsimile of an Indiana Jones story. Like, will it actually land with everything that it needs to? Who knows? Because it seems like the voice acting is a little wooden at times, but it's a video game that's pretty close to the feel and tone.
Yeah, like I think it looks really, really good. Especially, it compares pretty favorably compared to like the last couple movies, especially. Like it has those to go against for Indiana Jones things released in the past couple decades.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as cinematic stuff goes, there have been several decent Indiana Jones video games, but nothing in the era where they can actually get close to replicating the movies. So,
This is the most explosive barrels we've collected in a while, by the way, so...
Yeah, I don't want to think too much about it in case something happens. Okay, so that was... Wait. Okay, so that was part 1. Now we just have to go to Crescent Isle and get that last chest. Cool. Alright.
I also did not expect Microsoft to be announcing... well, Dragon Age I think we kind of did expect, but I did not expect a new Life is Strange game.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I was kind of wondering if that game would ever materialize, because I remember back before True Colors was announced, there was a very credible, like, leak about the next 2 Life is Strange games, and the reason that people considered it credible is because they pretty much predicted everything correctly about True Colors. This was back in, like, 2021 or so.
I see.
And at the time, they said, oh yeah, and Deck Nine's also working on another Max Caulfield game. And that was 3+ years ago, so I kind of just filed that back in my head, like, oh, okay. And then the game hadn't materialized yet, so I was like, oh, maybe they decided to do something different. And Deck Nine seemed to be doing other stuff, so I'm like, oh, maybe that game doesn't exist anymore. And then it just shows up here.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Yeah.
I have a sneaking suspicion about which ending it considers canon, but knowing the time-bendiness of Life is Strange, people should not get too worked up about that, because maybe
they're probably going to try to have their cake and eat it too with this, I think.
Maybe you go to... Maybe there's, like, a chance you go to 2 to 4... potential endings, because depending on, like, okay, so, like, you save the friend, and, like, Chloe somewhere, I don't know, the friend dies again, you fail to solve the mystery. But, well, Life is Strange is not known for fail states, it's just kind of, you go through the story, so, but there's definitely some things they can do to try to keep people on their toes here.
Yeah, they could really turn it into like a whole sliding doors kind of thing with just so many different possibilities.
Right.
If they really wanted to go that route. I think what they'll do is they'll just have something to do with Chloe involving the whole different...
wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Yeah, because remember, they already did that in the first game a little bit, with the fact that Max blacked out and went to that alternate reality, where Chloe never lost her father. So there's always the possibility, like, that kind of stuff has been a possibility since the first game, so it's not like they're inventing... It's not like Deck 9 is just inventing things whole cloth, but I think they can use it as a convenient way. They could look at it and say, well, we can kind of take something from both of the endings of the first game.
It also seems like the colors that surround Max are reminiscent of True Colors. I need to get back to that game. The first Life is Strange was the first true game that I ever completed with my wife. We enjoyed every moment of it. I did feel a little hustled to stay on the golden path. And now I'm taking my time with Life is Strange 1 to find the collectibles and to really reflect on how deeply I identify with Max Caulfield and her anxieties and her overprotectiveness and things of that nature. Life is Strange 2 we bounced off of because it just wasn't very good.
Two's just such a different thing. Like, I enjoyed what it was going for the most part. But yeah, I appreciate the swing. I appreciate that Don't Nod decided to like do something completely different. Like, try to more anthologize it than what Square Enix and Deck Nine have decided to do with the franchise. Not that I don't like the direction that they're going in, because I so far trust Deck Nine. They haven't really done anything with the franchise that I find objectionable. It's just like, Don't Nod weren't afraid to just make a whole new thing, completely divorced, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't want to say completely divorced, because there is a little bit of stuff in there that ties into the first game, but not in like a super.
They were trying for the original vision of Halloween movies, where each thing was a different thing. But the thing is that Max and Chloe are just so iconic, it's difficult to escape their gravitational pull.
They struck such gold on that first one. And so even with Don't Nod trying to spin things out in a different direction with the second one, did you ever finish Life is Strange 2, by the way?
No.
Okay, so do you mind if I give a little minor spoiler about something that shows up in that?
Sure.
So, as you're playing as the two brothers, you stumble on an RD or something. You stumble on some characters from the first game. It's Chloe's stepdad and is it Chloe's stepdad? I forget. I honestly forget who it is.
The police officer, dude.
Yes, you do run into some characters from the first game, kind of out of nowhere, and you find out. You hear some offhand dialogue about how Max is doing and stuff. So they didn't completely divorce themselves from the first game, but it's such a side thing. They just kind of threw it in as easy fan service at that point, because again they had to, because they struck such gold with that first Life is Strange.
They kept the Max fans going with the comic series. I believe, about the Save the Bay ending.
When Don't Nod wiped their hands of it, Square Enix is like, hey, we need someone to keep making these, because they're making us too much money. We have sort of this gold mine we're sitting on.
Yeah. And
so
again, they did manage
Deck Nine. Deck Nine's kind of stewards of the franchise, and I so far think they're doing pretty well. At this point, they'll have made more Life is Strange things than Don't Nod. So...
Right,
the
and
franchise is kind of theirs to lose.
It's popular enough to have inspired an alternate history comic series. There were discussions about some sort of TV adaptation, I think.
I remember that happening a few years ago, really when the series was at its hottest, probably 2017-ish.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was canceled, but maybe they...
I mean, that's how this stuff always goes. I'm sure there was a script written by someone somewhere, and they looked at it and said, "Let's make this," and then nothing ever moved from it. It just kind of languished. I'm sure.
So it's possible that something new could be tried, because, video games are the hottest goldmine of easy, original, new ideas for movies and TV shows at the moment. Since Hollywood has run out of other ideas, they are eating video games to sustain themselves. The Borderlands trailer looks awful. And Netflix's Resident Evil was a disaster. And Captain Laserhawk is way too overstimulating, so... Oh, joy, another exploding barrel. Oh, my friends. With the exploding barrels.
By the way, so on my days off this past weekend, I did play a bunch of the DLC for Borderlands 2. I know we kind of wanted to co-op it, but
it's alright.
I'm ready to kind of get on to Borderlands 3 at this point. So right now I'm working on the Tiny People stuff. And then there's just... it's pretty cool so far. But then I just have the one that they released as a bridge to Borderlands 3, the Fight for Sanctuary stuff. And then I'll probably move on to 3. And the DLCs have been pretty, short, so it's not like... you know, I'm just kind of like zooming my way through them, honestly, because I'm kind of over leveled for some of them too.
Yeah,
So,
that makes
some of
sense.
them are pretty cool though. I really like that first one with the treasure hunting.
I'm in New Game Plus on Borderlands 3, so I'm probably ahead of you, and I've completed I've completed the DLCs for that, I think, so I'm pretty over leveled, but you let me know when we can try and do that, and I'll
Yeah.
want to do that. So,
I'm not going to bother
deliver
with
it.
this. I don't want to. We'd have to backtrack all the way back to Mermaid's Hideaway for that.
Okay, well, goodbye, creative luxurious cloth. Let's just hope that the tide doesn't rise by 2 inches, or you're going to get wet. Okay, well.
There we go. First try.
Oh, nicely done. I was pretty close,
Yeah, you were right on there.
but hey, it's all good.
All right, Chest
Because
of Legends. There's
I
the real
got-
treasure.
Because I got a most legendary comment from Lynn. Can someone cash at me $6 for food? Well, since apparently my fridge is haunted, why can't the haunted fridge just give you food? Anyway, let's see.
He's right here. But I think we'll probably wrap up here once we sell.
Yeah. The thing is also that they're really hinting on like Reset Era that that there's a lot more to come at Gamescom, that there were discussions with Xbox developers who were like, yeah, we can't say there's a lot more though.
Okay. I mean that makes sense. Like, because the one thing that I was really thinking might show up here at Summer Game Fest was like something like Double Fine, because they've been quiet for a couple of years.
Yeah.
With whatever they're working on, they did actually. I wonder if they're still working on the stuff that they were working on. So in that Double Fine, the Psych Odyssey documentary, they had some really cool game concepts that they were showing off, because they do like internal game jams a lot,
Right.
and they had some really cool stuff going on that I wonder if any of those are going to turn into anything.
It's possible that this is a smaller thing, because I doubt that they're going to be able to make the Psychonauts 3 that they want, that will really be trippy in
I don't
3 years.
Like, the thing is, they had such, like, if you watch that documentary is filled with so much blood, sweat, and tears of making that game. I would be surprised if they dived into any big project after that, let alone a potential Psychonauts 3. Because believe me, it was like pulling teeth getting that thing together in the end. Like, just every phase was... It's an incredible look into game design, but it's also a look into, like, oh my god, trying to make a sequel to live up to something like Psychonauts seems like an impossible Herculean task. And I think they did it very well, but I just don't see them going back into something like that immediately.
No, not at all.
After putting the studio through that, because everyone...
Ooh! There's even more loot!
Yeah, let's lower anchor. Because that documentary is wild to see such a candid look at how tough something like that is to actually get across the finish line. Because there were numerous times in that documentary where I was like, how is this game ever going to actually exist? Because it just looks like such a mess for such a long time. They're not figuring anything out, and then somehow they pull it together at the end, but still, game development is just like...
Right.
Can't imagine. They've got to do something smaller and more focused after that, I'm sure.
Absolutely. See, like, that similar philosophy is actually what Rocksteady tried to do when they went from making Batman Arkham Knight, which was their magnum opus, to being like, okay, let's do something more passion project-like. And it seems like the multiplayer stone puzzle game, Stones, was what they had in mind. It could have been like a thing where they were throwing stones with characters. Who knows? But like, then they were told make a big Arkhamverse game and make it live service and make it in, X number of years, unless you end up delaying for like 7 billion times. But like, yeah, that kind of burnout definitely impacted the development of Suicide Squad, because the old creative director who was still there was a perfectionist, and nothing was ever really set in stone in terms of like what the combat would be like, even. Oh, well, I got teleported again. By being squished between the stone steps and the ship, but this time I actually stayed above the map, which is a feat.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, so I went to a new game shop that's sort of on my drive home from work, and
Whoa.
they had a copy of Arkham Origins, which I know Rocksteady didn't develop, but it's tangentially related. They had a copy of Arkham Origins for 360 for $12.
Nice.
So I was like, yeah, because that's one of those rare games that's only backwards compatible on disc. So
Yep.
I'm like, well, I don't have any plans to imminently play through this, but why not?
That is a great
And I did,
campaign.
yeah, I did end up playing the first like hour or so. It was alright. I'm not really into the Arkham games that much. Like, I've never finished one of them, but I've played quite a bit of a couple of them at this point. So, I don't know. The combat never really fully clicks with me.
In the Arkham games, or just this one?
Just the Arkham games in general. And I was feeling it in Origins too. Like, it's not that it's like difficult. It's like I do the combat and don't really feel like I'm doing that much. I don't know.
Well, I think once you get the rhythm down, it should be Jar of Dina's Incense. Where do we get that from?
One of the things I dug up, I think. Maybe? I'm not sure.
Sure. Well,
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know, like, I think as far as the Arkham games go, like, I enjoy that combat much more when they just outright copied it for Spider-Man, because I find the mobility more interesting in Spider-Man.
That makes sense, and it fits well with Spider-Man's mobility.
Yeah.
But if you combo really well, you can do some insane across the battlefield stunts as Batman. They kind of warp physics and whatnot, but are really, really cool. It's not always the easiest to be at a high level, especially by about Arkham Knight, where they had a lot of mechanics to juggle. But
I mean, for me, it's really not like I'm struggling with the issue. It's like, okay, I'm kind of just playing things, I know when to counter, when to dodge, when to do the cape attack thingy.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's kind of like, once you have that down, I haven't really felt, again, this is just speaking from me playing maybe the first third of Arkham Asylum, a little bit of Arkham Knight, and the first hour of Arkham Origins, so I haven't played like an extensive amount of these games, but that's just what I've always gotten out of it. It's like, I figure out what it wants me to do in the combat, and I do it with, mostly without getting hit. It's not a skill thing. It's like, I do the combat to an acceptable level, and then I just feel nothing from it. And I eventually just stop playing the game. So, I don't know. I'll keep giving Origins a chance, because I did play the first hour. I got to the point where, it kind of introduces the rogues gallery that you're going to fight. I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see how some of this turns out, so maybe I'll play more. But at least I have the game physically now, so...
I still hate the Deathstroke boss fight with a passion.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, it's so much fun, trust me. But like, yeah, Arkham Origins is definitely the weakest gameplay-wise.
Yeah, that's kind of why my thinking was like, let me just play this series and give it a shot, like, chronologically, because I know people consider Arkham Origins the worst one. Like, why not just do it chronologically and in quality? You know, like, start with the worst one and then find myself back with Arkham Asylum. And just
That makes sense.
go from there and see how it goes. So maybe I'll do that, maybe I won't, but I at least have them all now, so I can if I want to.
I got Arkham Origins, as you know, on Steam, and unfortunately it does not work on my Steam Deck, and the multiplayer mod therefore would not work, which is annoying because that multiplayer sounded really interesting. Like peak 7th gen tacked on multiplayer, but you know, again in a good way, which is what's usually meant by peak now. But then I got Arkham Asylum and City from the Epic Game Store, and I managed to find Arkham Knight for like $7 with all the DLC on the Steam Deck for sale. I was
seen
just like
bundles like that, yeah.
I was just like, absolutely. I can't wait to play this game at 60 FPS finally, and on the go. That will give me a better insight knowing how I usually perform, which is pretty well at 30 FPS for these things. I think my favorite iteration of the Arkham combat, though, Mad Max.
Okay, yeah. I played
especially
that
with
during
the FPS
free
boost
weekend.
now.
Yeah, I played that during a free weekend, like a long time ago. So, yeah, maybe I'll get back to that someday. So did you ever play the DLC for Arkham Origins at all?
Cold Heart, yes, I did.
Okay, is that like any good? Because I was trying to look for codes for the season pass and stuff in case I ever decided to play it. And they're straight up are none on the internet right now for 360 at least.
Well, the only story DLC is Cold Heart, and I believe that's still for individual sale. But if not, then no, it's not.
I tried it. I tried like the in-game link to it, and I couldn't.
Oh, did you vote to lower Emissary?
Oh yeah, I was in the tavern. And I was like, why am I in the tavern? Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, let me do that.
Well, let's finally have that victory drink, because you know what? I actually do feel good about the state of Xbox right now, despite everything, because it seems like we're gonna get quality games.
Hope to see you again.
And we're gonna keep getting more updates to the games we love, like Sea of Thieves Season 13 with that flamethrower ship is gonna be so sick. It's gonna rebalance the meta in interesting ways.
I actually looked into some of the insider stuff because they sent out like an email to insiders like, hey, come help us test Season 13. We really need help with this. I didn't read too in depth into it, but what I read did sound pretty cool. So we'll see how it goes. Basically having like a boss player on the server is what they're going for, from what it sounds like.
We should try that at some point. Yeah.
So like you'll basically see the big flamethrower ship and be like, oh, let's take them down and we can be the boss.
I see that.
Like King of the Hill style almost. So that'll be interesting.
Alrighty. Well, I am incredibly drunk from the stuff that we got now. Ooh.
Just ambling around.
Pretty much. Yep. It's dizzy-inducing. Oh, help! Poor pirate navigator out. Plop. Well, I missed, and that's the end of my endeavor there.
Before we log off, I just noticed there's a daily challenge to like do a anchor turn on your ship, so I'm just gonna do that really quickly.
Whoa, okay. That sounds cool. Let me join you. Once I stop being super drunk. Yeah. I gotta check how much I've actually leveled up my plunder pass.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna max out this season because there's only 7 weeks left. And I'm only like level 30, but whatever.
Oh, I think I got you this time. Yeah! Barf all over the steering wheel. Nah,
Okay, let me read the challenge again and make sure I read it right.
Anchor turn, eh?
Hard lock your ship's wheel and drop the anchor while sailing. Yep, that's an anchor turn for you. Let's do that.
Alright then! Let me know what I need to do on the wheel.
Just turn it in either direction all the way. And keep it there.
Okay. Hi, IDK. Good to see you again.
There we go. Okay.
It's
DC
getting
3000
pretty towards
gold.
the end of the stream, but I'm gonna put up the whole of it on my YouTube channel at History Flights Productions tomorrow. That's under the Sunny Redemption Sailing playlist. One last thing, I guess, before we go. I forgot to mention this. This really bothers me though. Why does the Black Ops 6 campaign need an internet connection? Can someone explain this to me?
Oh, I didn't see that, but good question. I do not have the answer to that.
It's 310 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's
why?
well, okay. That part I can believe. That part, like, it's still ludicrous, but that's not so unexpected.
But
I don't know about the campaign stuff.
But it has internet streamed textures too,
Oh.
which why? Are you even doing 310 gigabytes? If they were like, this is actually reducing storage to something more reasonable, like 57 or even 100 gigabytes, I would understand it. But no, Black Ops 6 just has to be difficult for some reason.
Is it?
And now
So
I'm starting to realize why they made the 2 terabyte Xbox Series X.
So forgive my ignorance because I have no idea how any of this works because I don't typically install all of the Call of Duty stuff. But is that just Black Ops 6 or is that including Warzone and everything?
Okay, so the way that typically works is that there is the main core Black Ops installer, and then there's the campaign as a separate install that's usually like 30 gigabytes, and then there's the multiplayer and zombies and Warzone. So those are separate things. You can download just Warzone, which is basically just the core, I think, without anything else. It gets very confusing with all the multiplayer packs that are required to keep things up. It's I don't understand it.
That's why I'm wondering what that 300 gigs actually represents. Because it would make more sense to me if like 100-something gigs of that was Warzone, and then some of it was zombies, some of it I don't know. But who knows? I guess we'll find out in a bit.
They have 2 zombies maps at launch. Unless those are like the biggest maps on the entire planet, I have no idea why you would make them 50 gigabytes each.
Maybe they're running in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Like, Call of Duty Zombies World. Yeah, no, probably not. But, yeah, I'm baffled too, to be honest with you, because it doesn't look that much better than past Black Ops games, and normally by streaming textures it means from the SSD. The whole point of having these SSDs that are so expensive that Microsoft keeps charging ridiculous amounts of money for a 1 terabyte is that, like, it's supposed to be faster and use less data, so why are you putting so much data there for no reason? It's just kind of emblematic of where gaming is going, is that everything is like, you must accept this stuff as we make it, or not at all. Like, don't bother playing at all if you don't want to have to re-download like 300 gigabytes every time that your friends come on after they haven't been on for several weeks. So, you know, we shall see how that all goes. But this has been a pretty good start to hot gaming summer, and I'm excited to see where things go. Oh, one last thing. The other biggest surprise of the show for me was Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn coming to Game Pass. I was fully ready to commit to that for $70, but or was it 60? Well, they probably had a deluxe edition that was 70, so that might have confused me. But that game looks like a lot of fun, and like a bigger version of South of Midnight in terms of like black female lead in a fantasy setting with high mobility but a bit more Devil May Cry / God of War rather than like Souls-like-ish? I don't know exactly what's South of Midnight, but hey, like, this is cool. I am so excited to take on gods in this game for no extra money. Because I just redeemed another month from rewards of Game Pass, and now I have it through the end of the year. I was like, okay, perfect timing. If Indiana Jones comes out in December, I want to be ready for Indiana Jones in December. So, anywho, well,
Yeah.
You have a good one then. I guess just let me know when you're on again.
Yeah,
And
so
I can do Borderlands 3.
I did pick up some extra shifts this coming week. So I'm off tomorrow. I work Thursday, possibly Thursday night, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I know that's probably
You're
subject to change.
Yeah.
Because that can happen, but, just keep me posted, and I'll be happy to play Borderlands 3 whenever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like
Yep,
tomorrow, I'm probably gonna try to just power through the rest of the Borderlands 2 DLC tomorrow because it doesn't
sounds
seem
good.
like I have much left. So I'll do
Uh,
that, and then maybe like start Borderlands 3 and just do a little bit of it and see uh what at least figure out a class and stuff.
Tomorrow's my office day, so I'll be lucky if I get in, if I sneak in a little bit of Hyperforma, um, Pascal's Wager, and What the Car for the iPad. Maybe some Smash Hit in there too. Like, I like bringing the Steam Deck, but it's kind of clunky to actually carry around and hopefully not drop on a city train. With the iPad, I have the case that protects it. So yeah. Anyway, well, you have a good one, my friend. I'm so glad that we had a calmer voyage this time and got so much loot. And you know what? Again, I'm feeling pretty good about where gaming's going into 2025. Like, there is a sense of regrouping. So, hopefully that
Absolutely.
continues. And less
Yeah.
people are laid off. Talk to you later.
Mm-hmm. Yep. See you later. Have a good night. Bye.
You too. Bye. And you all as well.